Hello students, we'll continue with the topic control and coordination. Let's know more about the topic. Next. So let's understand what is reflex action. So reflex action is related to the spinal cord. So what is reflex action? It is a sudden, unconscious and involuntary response of effectors to a stimulus. So we can say that we suddenly withdraw our hand if we suddenly touch a hot object. It has been previously discussed too. So next video will go to. In this reflex action, the nerves and the skin receptor detects the heat. So you can see here your finger, and it detects the heat and it is passing the message through the sensory nerves to the spinal cord. So this information is passed on through the motor nerves of the muscles. So we can see here the motor nerves of the muscles of effector, and it comes back to the hand, and this makes you to withdraw the hand. So let's see this diagram here again. So this is your hand and there is a hot object. So near the flame, you will never keep your hand to the flame. You will be immediately withdrawing it, because this sensory neuron transmits the message to the interneuron of the spinal cord, and this spinal cord sends the message back to the motor neuron and it reaches to the muscle. That will help you to remove your hand from the hot object. So next slide. So again this is the same diagram. So we can see that before we were speaking about the hot object, even it's in the same case of a pin prick into your hand or a finger. So again there is a response that is created that travels through the sensory neuron and passes through the cell body of the neuron, which passes again through the interneuron and reaches to the effector or the muscle, and that will make you to withdraw your finger from the pin prick and it pains. So reflex action is all about getting a stimulus from the external environment, and that acts into the normal way of sending the message to the spinal cord, and you will remove your hand or any part of your body if it is affected or you are into a trouble with high heat, cold or a pinprick or the pain that you sense. So here we can see again everything is being responded through a sensory neuron, and here you can see that the muscles, you are getting a hit with some object to the muscles, and you can see that there is again a message getting transported to the cell body, and you have a reflex action that passes through the spinal cord again, and it reaches the muscle back, and you might stand up from the place where you are sitting. Next we'll understand about reflex arc. So it is a pathway of reflex action that is known as reflex arc. So in a reflex arc, the stimulus is received by the receptors. Receptors are the sense organs, and it passes through the sensory nerves and to the spinal cord. From the spinal cord, as I told before, it reaches again back to the muscles, and you will respond to stimulus. So stimulus example is like a hot plate. So what will you do unknowingly if you keep your hand on a hot plate? Will you touch it, take it? No, you are not going to do that. So what you will be doing, you will be withdrawing your hand within a fraction of second. But within a fraction of second, if you want to remove your hand, all these process takes place. That is, your skin receives the hot touch or the stimulus, the message gets passed on by the sensory neurons to the spinal cord, and from the spinal cord, this passes to the motor neurons, and from motor neurons to the effectors or the muscles that will make you to remove your hand. So as I told, from the spinal cord the information passes through the motor nerves and to the effectors, that is the muscles or the glands, for a response. So we can see here again. So it starts from the stimulus or the receptor. From there the message passes through the sensory neuron, then to the spinal cord, which is also known as relay neuron, and from there it passes to the motor neuron and then to the effector muscle or the muscle glands. So this is again illustration with another diagram or a flow chart. That is stimulus, it is received by the sense organ. From there it reaches to the sensory nerves, then to the spinal cord. Spinal cord sends the message to the motor nerves, then from there to the effectors or the muscle glands, and finally you respond to the particular stimulus. So again, same reflex arc diagram. So it's the same explanation. You can go once with the diagrammatic representation. You can understand it. So next we will understand control and coordination with respect to plants. So in plants, control and coordination is done by chemical substances. What are those chemical substances called as? They are called as plant hormones or phytohormones. So there are different types of plant hormones. Majorly there are 5 types. They are known as auxins, gibberellins, cytokinins, abscisic acid and ethylene. So let's understand one by one. Auxins. This plant hormone helps in cell division, cell elongation and helps in the growth of the plant. Next comes the gibberellins. It helps in growth of the stem and the branches. Cytokinins, they help in the cell division, formation of fruits and seeds. So we'll know about movements in plants. So movements in plants are of 2 types. They are of tropic movements and nastic movements. So let's understand tropic movements. They are directional movements towards or away from the stimulus, or it depends on the growth. So they are of different types like phototropism. So phototropism with respect to the plant bending towards the light or away from the light. Next the geotropism, chemotropism, hydrotropism. So we'll understand more in details. So let's understand phototropism. So it is the response of plants to light. So if the plant bends towards the light, it is called as positive phototropism. So example is bending of shoot towards the light, that is sunlight. If it is moving away from the light, it is called as negative phototropism, like the roots bending away from the light. Geotropism. So it is the movement of plants in response to the gravity. So in response to gravity, you can see that the roots move towards the soil, that is towards the gravity, and away from the gravity is the shoots. So if it is moving towards the gravity, it is known as positive geotropism, like the roots towards the soil is positive geotropism. If it is away from the gravity, so if the plant moves away from the gravity, it is known as negative geotropism. So it is upward growth of the shoot. So chemotropism. So you can see that the growth of the pollen tube. So this is the ovule and pollen grain needs to reach to the ovule. This response to stimuli is chemical. So it is known as chemotropism. So next, the name itself suggests hydrotropism relates to the water, wherein it is the movement of plants in response to water. So you can see here that the growth of the plant and the root grows straight. If it's supposed to have water nearby, the roots turns towards the water. So next, coming to Nastic movements. Till now we have seen the movement of the plants towards and away from the sources or stimulus. Here there is no movement at all. So they are non-directional movements which are neither towards or away from the stimulus. So it does not depend on the growth. So you can see here, it's an example of touch me not. You might be knowing about the touch me not plant, or it is known as Mimosa pudica. So you can see that it is a very sensitive plant, and if you happen to touch it, so the water in this leaves, they move towards the stem, and you can see the folding of leaves happens. So the same example here, if we touch the leaves of touch me not plant, the leaves fold up and droops down immediately. So drooping down immediately due to the change in the amount of water in the leaves. So it depends on the amount of water in the leaves that it swells or shrinks. So next comes abscisic acid. So it is a plant hormone. This inhibits the growth and affects the wilting of the leaves. So we'll understand about ethylene. So ethylene helps in flowering and ripening of fruits. So most of the times we use chemical or artificially synthesized ethylene so that the fruits get ripened. So here we can see that it changes the cell wall structure, then pigment accumulation takes place, and also you can see that the fruit that is unripened gets ripened by treating with ethylene. So next we'll understand about endocrine system or endocrine glands in human body. So endocrine glands also help in control and coordination with respect to the human beings. So the endocrine glands produce chemical substances. They help to control and coordinate various activities in our body. So let's understand some of these. These are the pineal glands, hypothalamus, pituitary gland, thyroid, parathyroid, thymus, adrenal, pancreas, testes and ovary. We'll understand one by one now. So let's say that we are frightened or angry. So the adrenal glands, these adrenal glands produce adrenalin hormone, so which is sent through the blood to the heart. It reaches the ribs and the diaphragm. This increases the breathing rate to supply more oxygen to the muscles. So what happens here when you are afraid or you are angry? So either if you are afraid, then you will run away from the situation, or you are angry, you will fight with the enemy. So next comes the thyroid gland. So iodine is needed by the thyroid gland to produce hormone known as thyroxin. So thyroxin controls the metabolism of carbohydrates, fats, proteins, and also helps in the proper growth of the human beings. So if this diet is deficient in iodine, it causes goitre. So next comes the pituitary gland that is present in the brain. So it produces growth hormones. If there is a deficiency in this hormone, then you can say that the child causes dwarfism. So there is a stunted growth in the child, and if there is an excess of this hormone, then there is tallness or gigantism. It is known as gigantism. So next comes the pancreas. So it's situated just below the liver. So you can see that pancreas produces the hormone. So most of you know that production of insulin. So which controls the blood sugar level, and if there is an increase in the blood sugar level, you can see that you have been contracted with diabetes, or you will get diabetes. So diabetic patient has to take insulin injections to control the person's blood sugar level. So last but not the least, with respect to endocrine gland, are the reproductive hormones. They are the testes, that is in males produce the hormone testosterone, and which controls the production of sperms and also changes during the puberty. So in females you can see the ovary that produces the hormone estrogen, which controls the production of eggs and also there causes the changes during the puberty. That's all related to the lesson. Thank you for watching.